My name is Rich Sloan, and I'm a co-founder and CEO at WAVR Technologies. I'm also an entrepreneur in residence here at UNLV, and I was kind of put in this position because I've basically been involved in starting up innovative companies and growing them and hopefully solving a lot of problems out in the world many times over. And UNLV has a goal to do more with the research and the great thinking that's happening here in these kinds of labs and to put it into practical application out in the world to go solve problems. And so WAVR Technologies is the newest UNLV startup that is going to try to solve some of those problems. And in this case, one of our biggest problems in Las Vegas, which is access sustainably to water, fresh water.
How long have you known and been working with Jeremy?
I was introduced to Jeremy in 2023. This is before he published his work, but during a time when key discoveries had been made and patents had been filed at UNLV. And just being a resident of Las Vegas, I'm very sensitive to water. We all are, we have to be. And so I was very interested in his work and the potential impact it could have on our community.
So on the practical applications, right? We're still developing everything, but where do you foresee these tools being used and how so?
So the work that happens at UNLV is research, some of that foundational research, and in fact has resulted in key breakthroughs. And so here, you know, we're surrounded by bench scale prototypes all around. When we go out into commercial environments through WAVR Technologies, the new startup company, we're focused on much larger systems. So we're thinking in terms of a 10-gallon per day system, a 100 or 1,000 gallon per day, even jumbo 10,000 gallons per day systems. The kinds of applications are many. Fresh water is used in industry, agriculture, residential, etc., food products. So a good example, right here at UNLV, they use millions of gallons to irrigate the grounds, the landscaping. And we are already working with the leadership at UNLV to start to replace that Lake Mead sourced water for landscaping and instead have it be sky sourced water for landscaping. So lots of applications exist. We're working with a global beverage company, a Fortune 50 beverage company. We're working with a Fortune 500 medical therapeutics company that does in-home kidney dialysis, which requires distilled water. And instead of running vans all over town delivering distilled water, you can just make it right at home as part of their system. We're working with a master plan community that is developing tens of thousands of new residences and wants to do the right thing for sustainable water. So those are some examples.
On that UNLV irrigation example, how far along are you guys in those discussions?
There is a leadership team at UNLV of all of the key people, so it has the support of all the right people. We've now got the bench scale technology validated, and over the next 12 months we will develop a system that will then be installed and will be operational sometime in the 2026 timeframe. There are some details that need to be worked out, but the passion and the commitment is there, and the solution is waiting to be implemented.
What is a bench scale?
Bench scale is a term we use when we describe a prototype of a certain size or scale. Literally, we're surrounded in this environment by laboratory benches. That's what these tables are. And when you make a prototype that fits on top of that bench, that's your bench scale prototype.
So earlier you talked about the possibility of 10, 100,000 gallon models. What would, say, a 1 gallon model potentially look like?
Sure. I can tell you we're designing for a 100-gallon size unit, just to give you an example. And a 100-gallon daily output unit would be something on the order of maybe half of this table right here. Imagine this as a cabinet. You could think of it also as that air conditioning unit that sits outside of your home. Something about that size could generate 100 gallons per day. And that can be scaled up to larger sizes and smaller sizes.
And I know we're still, again, early, but like, how much would a unit like that cost in the material?
Well, we're working through the manufacturing details at this point. I'd say we have a little more development to do before we get to a really dialed in number on cost. Fortunately, these are very straightforward materials. This is, relatively speaking, a solid state or no moving parts type of system. So it's not a complicated mechanism with a lot of machinery or parts that can break. So it is very manufacturable. And we do intend to assemble it right here in Las Vegas. So we're hoping to create those kinds of advanced manufacturing jobs here as part of our business plan. But we're without getting into the specifics, we're looking at something that seems reasonable in terms of the value that it creates.
So they could, a homeowner could conceivably get with a reasonable budget.
We are prioritizing commercial customers first, so we will work with the master plan developers to make this available to a neighborhood, for example. And we will work with industry so that their building where they use water for their process can use water from the sky instead. So those are our first kinds of customers. We will eventually get to consumers as well. We even envision a backpack version of this, so you go out hiking, out in Zion or whatever, and you can literally be making water as you hike and having water to use for whatever purpose you need. We also envision vehicle-mounted units. We've been contacted recently by a large global disaster response organization, and we are putting together a plan to enable them to bring these units to disaster sites where fresh water is no longer available and can really be critical. So we, to really attract the water from the air through the hydrogel into the salty solution, we use specific kinds of salts. Some perform better in some applications than others, etc. We happen to be using a lithium bromide type of salt, so it is part of the lithium industry. That's where we'll source the salty solution. And that'll be completely contained. It won't be exposed to the atmosphere. It is basically going in a closed loop through the system as it's gathering in the water vapor, releasing the water vapor to pure water, and gathering and releasing in a cycle.
How long have you lived in Vegas?
Since 2011.
And so you're familiar with not just the heat, but the concern that a lot of Southern Nevadans have over water availability and its renewability. Can you talk about like how much of an important of an issue this is for you personally?
Yeah. So I've lived in Las Vegas since 2011. I came originally from the Midwest in Michigan, literally surrounded by the biggest body of fresh water, imaginable. It's like an ocean, the Great Lakes. So this very water-rich environment to this very dry environment. And to say that I am acutely sensitive to just this, the challenges that this represents, it's fair to say. Thinking even beyond being a community member here in Las Vegas, by 2030, the projections are that global demand for fresh water will outstrip supply by 40%. So within the decade ahead, we are going to be upside down on fresh water, and that's globally, not just in arid regions like this. So I am on a serious mission to ensure that we move through the commercialization process as quickly as possible to start to get these products into our communities and to incrementally add 5% more water, add 10% more water. Those are very meaningful contributions that we're totally intent on making, and WAVR Technologies, I think, has a really important place in the future of Las Vegas. As a community member, I would love for Las Vegas to kind of set the new standard for water innovation. We've already been incredibly efficient in reducing our per capita consumption by 30% over recent years. So we're really doing a great job on conservation. Now we need innovation. And innovation will bring this new supply of water to our community. And I can envision a continuously growing Las Vegas where people get to be involved in this incredibly exciting town, and to do it without water scarcity being a real problem.
You mentioned that for WAVR, this isn't the only product that you guys are working on. Are you guys doing any other projects?
So the technology that has been developed at UNLV that we've now licensed over to WAVR is first and foremost about collecting water vapor from the atmosphere and making it into usable fresh water. There are other applications for it, though, that are very relevant, very interesting, and one of those is actually potentially to be used as an input to make hydrogen fuel. So instead, again, of using groundwater or other sources of fresh water that are in very limited supply, we can source the water from the air necessary to make hydrogen fuel. That's called green hydrogen and fuel, and that's kind of a holy grail kind of effort by many in the scientific and commercial community to make that hydrogen fuel truly a green source of energy.
And on that commercial timeline, were you able to share what you anticipate that to be?
We'll be focusing on water and delivering fresh water as our primary goal. For the next year, we'll be in development of prototypes of increasing size and scale, and our first pilot projects, including here at UNLV to address irrigation. And as we move out into 2026, we will start to explore other applications like green hydrogen and other applications.
On WAVR's fund, where is the funding coming from?
WAVR so far has been the beneficiary of a lot of National Science Foundation research happening here in the lab. So that's what created the resources to be able to make these breakthroughs. And at this point, UNLV has directly been supporting WAVR. We also have a regional innovation engine that is funded by the NSF called the Southwest Sustainability Engine. Sustainability and Innovation Engine, SWIZI is the acronym for it. The government likes acronyms. From this point forward now, we are going to be actually raising money privately into the company, venture capital and so on. And that will provide a lot of the fuel necessary to really aggressively grow this business and roll out the product.
That was my last question. Was there anything else that you want to touch on?
I'll just share this. So, my role here at UNLV as entrepreneur in residence is to try to apply research out in the real world. And it's just very exciting to see how much support UNLV is, and priority UNLV is giving to the idea of translating its research into real world problem solving. And it's just really exciting to be part of that.